Good evening, vinyl community. Doodah Dave coming at you. I've got some discs from 1975. Louis V from Vinyl Latte suggested I do 1975 because I had done a video on 1974 that was very popular, vinyl from 1974. So let's get into it. A couple ground rules. It's got to be released in 1975. I'm doing 1975. I have almost 58 records from vinyl records from 1970, released in 1975. All genres: classical, folk, rock, country, prog, etc. Classical. I mentioned that. And what else did I want to say about that? I'm gonna do 15 at a time because it's going to be wieldy. All right, let's get started. First up is the chorus line. The hit Broadway musical came out in 1975. This was the Joe Papp had originated off Broadway, and then it moved to Broadway with Donna McKechnie in the lead, and it was the precursor of Rent and Hamilton and Wicked and shows that were more confessional in even some of the Stephen Sondheim's. His stuff of course predated some of this, but it was about the dancers on Broadway, the line dancers and what they went through, their relationships and their trials and tribulations, and it's just a great show. Chorus line. It's on the Columbia Masterworks label. I'll show you that. And it's a 6i. Not the cleanest disc, but it's pretty good shape there. Chorus line. And there's an insert here, I believe. Yes, insert with the cast. And pictures from the cast. Donna McKechnie. Really great. This is recorded June 9th, 1975. Michael Bennett wrote it, and it was a big hit. I don't know how long it ran for. Quite a few years. It was a big hit. They made it into a movie, I think, eventually, but the movie wasn't as good as the musical, as sometimes happens. So, chorus line. Number 2, I said we'd do 15, right? A Funky Thide of Sings by Billy Cobham. His 4th album after Total Eclipse, his 4th solo album. He was the drummer for Mahavishnu Orchestra. For those of you that know jazz and prog, John McLaughlin had come out of the Miles Davis band and started his own band in 1971. So this is a terrific album. He plays a funky thide of sings. He plays a funky kind of thing on the second side. And he has Milcho Lviv on keyboards, Randy Brecker on trumpet, John Schofield on guitar, who's very big in the jam band, Alex Blake on bass. So it's really tight, good album, enjoyable, nice drum solo in here as well. Okay, I'll show you that Billy. There's Billy on the back. Billy Cobham went to Berklee School of Music, and fantastic drummer. This is on the, I want to say, Atlantic label. Yeah, Billy. Mahavishnu was on Columbia, I believe, but Billy was on Atlantic. So you got the nice Atlantic label there. 1975. Good, straight ahead fusion, really cooks, and I like it. Funky Thide sings. I wonder if they took this picture of this wonderful gorilla in the New York Zoo, because it was recorded in New York. I believe it was recorded in New York. Was it recorded in New York? Now I'm curious. Most of these recorded in Columbia Record Studios, San Francisco. So maybe it was in the San Francisco Zoo. Okay, moving right along, we have number 3 is Hot Tuna, America's Choice. America's Choice, Hot Tuna. There we go. And I don't have pictures of the band on the jacket. This was Hot Tuna's album after Phosphorescent Rat, which was their fourth album. So this was their fifth album, 1975. And they actually released, interestingly enough, Hot Tuna, Jack and Yorma, and then Bob Steeler on drums. For this incarnation, very electric Hot Tuna, they released a second album in 1975, Yellow Fever, that we'll get to in another video. Hit single number 1 is on here, Serpent of Dreams, the Robert Johnson Walkin' Blues, Funky number 7. So it's got the usual suspects. This also was recorded in San Francisco. And it has a really great thing on the side. It says active ingredients: 33 1/3% Jorma Kaukonen, 33 1/3% Jack Cassidy, 33 1/3% Bob Steeler. Pure, unadulterated sounds with amplified additives and the necessary polytonal ingredients to handle heavy loads. And then on the front it says, warning, this album to be played at full volume for maximum effect, on Grunt Records and Tapes, their label that they had with, and you see the suds, they went with the kind of commercial, Tide, Cheer type of thing with the suds on the insert. And it says, remember, it's Hot Tuna, America's Choice, Hot Tuna. Caution, see warning on side panel. And you've got the Grunt label there. America's Choice. Anybody that knows Hot Tuna know that's primo electric Hot Tuna. And at this time, they were really cranking it up. I got to see them in 74 on the Phosphorescent Rat tour with, oh my gosh, how bizarre. You know who warmed them up? Billy Cobham. You can't make this stuff up, right? And I remember I felt so bad for Billy Cobham's set because they were all, yelling for Hot Tuna, Hot Tuna. So next is Art Tatum, the piano player. This is on the Crescendo. It's actually, GNP Crescendo, Crescendo Records out of Los Angeles. I believe a smaller label. There's no other GNP Crescendo. And this was recorded in the early 50s. We're on a California trend here. Shout out to my beautiful family out there. It was just my son-in-law's birthday. Happy birthday, Sean. And my grandson Phoenix's birthday last week. So shout out, happy birthday to both of them. This is Crescendo, GNP, Art Tatum in Los Angeles. The name of the club was the Gene Norman's Crescendo Club on the Sunset Strip in Hollywood. And he did have Tatum was partially blind, pretty blind in one eye and partially blind in the other. So I'm sure he made criteria for being fully blind. And he had a trio for a while, but then he went back to just doing solo. And this is solo piano. It's very, very good, fantastic. A lot of the American Songbook he does on here. Rodgers and Hart, Hammerstein. I was going to say Bernstein, Hammerstein. It's Only a Paper Moon, Just a Gigolo, On the Sunny Side of the Street, Gershwin, and stuff in the liner notes. Dave Dexter from Billboard mentions most of the songs that he does in the early 50s. He died in 55, sadly, were songs that were 40 years old. So Art Tatum live at the Crescendo Club. And we're on a little jazz bend. We have Sonny Fortune, I'm a big Miles Davis fan, as most of you know. And Sonny came out of Miles's band, played with Miles, and he played with a lot of other people as well. Buddy Rich, McCoy Tyner, really great people on this album. Here is a picture of Sonny. And if anybody watches the show Severance, you'll see the striking resemblance Sonny Fortune has to Mr. Milchick on that show. And if you haven't seen Severance, check it out. It's on Apple TV. It's great, great shows too. They just wrapped the second season and they're going to have a third. There's a song in here for Duke and Cannon, which is pretty cool. Sonny plays alto pretty much all through, flute on the last cut. He's got Kenny Barron on piano, Wayne Dockery on bass, and Billy Hart on drums. Just really solid, solid straight ahead stuff on the Horizon label, the A&M Horizon label. I have quite a few albums on that, and every one is excellent. Chet Baker, I believe, my Thad Jones and Mel Lewis is on Horizon. I have Dave Liebman that we'll be talking about, also released in '75. It was big in the mid '70s. Very nice packaging, and I'll show you the Horizon label. There you go, A&M Horizon, Sonny Fortune. Terrific alto player. All right, moving right along. We have next, going out to the Midwest, we've gone to jazz, and we have out of Detroit, Mr. Bob Seger. This was his 1975 release. And there's Bob, looking very reflective, called Beautiful Loser. Terrific album, really solid songwriting, a lot of ballads on this, as well as up-tempo. It's got the Nutbush City Limits that Tina covers, and Tina Turner on here. And he has a lot of the Muscle Shoals rhythm section backing him up, who are excellent, and then some of the Silver Bullet Band as well. If you like Seeger and you like early Seeger, which I do, this is a terrific, terrific album on EMI, capital EMI. Really, really good. Great songs on here. Kathmandu, Jody Girl's a great ballad. I like the title cut was excellent. And Nutbush City Limits, I would say, are my faves. There's the label on Capitol, the red Capitol label from '75. Really good stuff. I've only got a couple of Bob Seger on vinyl. I have Smokin' OPs, which is his covers album, but they're both excellent. So now we're going to get into, in 1975 had a lot of really big names that released albums. Bob Dylan was one of them, and this is a gem and a treasure, Blood on the Tracks. I think most people know this album. You're a Big Girl Now. The big hits, of course, were Simple Twist of Fate and Tangled Up in Blue. He had Buddy Cage from the New Riders play on one song on the second side, a country song, Meet Me in the Morning. He did Lily Rosemary and the Jack of Hearts is my favorite song on this. And it's great. He was going through the bad divorce with his wife, Sarah, and he just poured it out into this album. And there's a story, the guys he used on it, Tony Brown on bass, Buddy Cage, I mentioned Paul Griffin on organ, and Eric Weisberg on Deliverance. He had cut it with another band, and he didn't like it, the way the song, so he went out to Minnesota and cut it with these guys. So again, we're on the Midwest, engineered by Phil Ramone, so he was behind the board for a lot of this with Bob on Columbia, of course, where Bob was for a long, long time. He finally, in '74, he did the album with the band on Geffen, because Geffen did the tour, the '74 tour, which I saw once at the Garden and once at the Spectrum in Philly, which was fantastic. The Before the Flood album, which, and there's the label, and it's the, I don't know how many eyes it is, I guess the 6-eye Columbia, but it's 75. So that's Bob Dylan, Blood on the Tracks. I'd say this is the first pretty, 5-star album that we've hit. And I just got this recently. Oh, there's a nice insert on this. Going as quickly as I wanted to go. This is the insert. Oh, it's just the red insert. It doesn't have the liner notes. I feel like the original had the lyrics on it, but I'm not sure about that. That might be my memory. I got this album when I went to Orlando. Blood on the Tracks, a nice Bob drawing on the back. Okay, another biggie that year was Jeff Beck. And interestingly enough, this was the first Jeff Beck album that he released under his own name. It had been Jeff Beck Group or Beck Bogart and a piece. This is Blow by Blow. There's Jeff with the Les Paul. That's interesting. Here's pretty much the drawing of that, and here's the photograph of that, and just fantastic. I did see this tour as well with Mahavishnu, who also have an album in 1975. I believe I saw them in 75. So when this came out on this tour, he's got Freeway Jam on here, Diamond Dust, You Know What I Mean, Constipated Duck, Scatterbrain, Air Blower. Air is spelled AIR, and this was produced by George Martin. I believe this was produced by George Martin. I know Wired was. I'm pretty sure, because Air, I think, was Air Studios in London. I will double check that and get back to you. And then they've got the Stevie Wonder, because he had played on one of Stevie Wonder's album. I think it's on Talking Book, I believe, on Superstition. So he got to do a Stevie tune because he ended his lovers and dedicated it to Roy Buchanan, and thanks to Stevie JB. So yeah, produced by George Martin. Okay, yeah. I knew he did Wired, and I was 99% sure. Orchestral arrangement by George Martin, recorded at Air Studios London. So it's Air Blower, AIR, just like Air Studios. So Jeff Beck, Max Middleton on keyboards, bust out keyboard player. He's so good. Phil Chen on bass and Richard Bailey on drums and percussions. Just really, really, really great album on an epic blow by blow. Fusion. Jeff Beck does fusion and does it oh so well. Now a band that you might have heard of, the Grateful Dead. Yes, Blues for Allah came out on their label. This was their third album on the Grateful Dead label. It opened up with the famous Help Slip Frank, Help on the Way into Slipknot into Franklin's Tower. It has this side with all the songs, and then Music Never Stopped, and then Blues for Allah, Crazy Fingers, and Blues for Allah. And then there's a lot of almost... well, the critics call it fusion-y. I mean, we didn't call it fusion back in the day. We called it Grateful Dead improvisation. They called it Blues for Allah, and they did the liner notes all in several different languages, which is quite interesting because the king of Saudi Arabia had died, and he was a big Grateful Dead fan, so that's why Blues for Allah. And it's got the lyrics here, and then, you know, in Persian, Arabic, and Hebrew. So there you go. Rather interesting artwork. I got the band on the back. This was with Donna and Keith and Phil, and this was the single drummer era. For those of you who know the Grateful Dead, and it's I wouldn't say it's overly commercial. It's Grateful Dead studio at this time. You know, Wake of the Flood, Mars Hotel, Blues for Allah. Incredible songwriting and great stuff, but you know, when they did it live, they really broke it out. Next, we have another heavy hitter, another, I would say, a 5-star, Bruce Springsteen, Born to Run. There he is with Clarence, leaning on Clarence's shoulder, the big man. And I think everybody knows this album, Born to Run, and Jungle Land, and Meeting Across the River is my favorite song on here. Night, Backstreets, Thunder Road, 10th Avenue Freeze Out. You Can't, She's the One. Every cut is a standout. John Landau from Rolling Stone magazine helped Bruce with this, and Interestingly enough, I live in Westchester County, and Born to Run was recorded in Blauvelt, which is right across the river. And it's very, very close to New Jersey. So I think he recorded a lot of, or maybe all of, Wildly Innocent and E Street Shuffle, which is my favorite Bruce Springsteen album. Love early Bruce Springsteen, I'd say. Tunnel of Love before that. I mean, the later stuff is good, but the early stuff is really classic. Nice guitar there, the Fender Telecaster. Okay, moving right along. I wanted to make this a little bit shorter, this video. This is Art Garfunkel Breakaway, and I want to thank Tim from University of Vinyl. I put a link to him and to Vinyl Latte in here. He turned me on to this album and said it was excellent. You'll thank me. So Tim, I'm thanking you. This is a great one. It was Art's second album after Angel Clare, and I also got Angel Clare. Haven't gotten into that as deep. It's got Disney Girls on it, the Beach Boys. It's got My Little Town with Paul, so that's a treat. And they in 1975 they both went on Saturday Night Live and did that. And Jaws was the biggest movie in 1975. I'll throw in some 1975 trivia. 99 Miles from LA is nice. It's a very ragdoll. It's a very, what would I call it? It should maybe be called Breakout. You hear Art kind of doing his thing out from under the thumb of Paul, and we all know Paul and Art went through a lot of stuff. It's got a nice insert with all of the album people and a nice picture of Artie. And great people on here: Larry Knechtel, Andrew Gold, who played with in Linda Ronstadt's band, Russ Kunkel and Lee Sklar, played with everybody, Joni and Carole King. Who else is on here? You got Jim Keltner, Klaus Foreman, Graham Nash, David Crosby. So a lot of, the Stephen Bishop does background vocals, the songwriter. Bill Payne, ubiquitous keyboard player and member of Little Feat. You've got on My Little Town, the aforementioned Muscle Shoals rhythm section, Barry Beckett, Roger Hawkins, David Hood, Pete Carr, and you got Phil Ramone at the production board on this. So it's on Columbia, I want to say. Columbia. Am I right? Is it Columbia? It is Columbia. Yeah, because I'm in Garfunkel on Columbia, and one of their biggest. So you got that Breakaway. Really nice album from 75. Okay. And moving right along. I'm trying to get through 15. The video's running kind of long. I'm going to kind of speed it up. This is Average White Band, Cut the Cake, their second album. And I have the live one too, which is Person to Person. It's really, really good. It's really strong funk. It was dedicated to Robbie McIntosh, who had died. Steve Ferrone takes over, does a fantastic job, who was a drummer in the Heartbreakers. You got Hamish Stewart, Alan Gorey, Ani McIntyre, and Roger Ball. They do horns. Schoolboy Crush, Cut the Cake, If I Ever Lose This Heaven, which is a Motown cover. When They Bring Down the Curtain, High Flying Woman. It's all of it's good. Produced by Arif Mardin. It's on Atlantic. And I saw them as well in the same venue where I saw Mahavishnu and Avery Fisher Hall in New York. There's the Atlantic label about this time. And they have an insert. There's the guys from Average White Band. There's Steve. And there's the lyrics and their cool logo, Average White Band. Great funk from across the pond. All right, couple more. We just had the Bob Dylan movie, which I still have yet to see. Joan Baez was played by Monica Barbaro. Here's Joan doing Diamonds and Rust, which was a song about Bob Dylan. There's great sidemen on this. She covers great people as well. She covers She has Joni Mitchell singing on it. She covers Jackson Browne. She covers Stevie Wonder again. She covers Bob Dylan, Simple Twist of Fate, which had just come out that year. Blue Sky, Richard Betts from the Allman Brothers, and Hello in There, John Prine. So it's really, really a Janis Ian tune. Larry Carlton plays on here, Joe Sample, Wilton Felder, a lot of the Crusaders back her up, as well as Jim Gordon again on drums from the Dominoes, and just a great, great Dean Parks, who played on the Steely Dan albums, David Page from Toto, fantastic Tom Scott, Jim Horn on horn, John Guerin, Max Bennett. So you've got LA Express, really top notch sidemen on this. This was on A&M, her label, Joan, and there's the vinyl and the label on A&M. Okay, two more, or I think I'm down to my last one. Two more. Okay. Yes, bass player Chris Squire did a solo album, 1975. Fish Out of Water. Very experimental, very prog. Excellent, excellent album. He's got Bruford on here, the drummer from Close to the Edge, and before that, before Alan White, also was in King Crimson. He's got Mel Collins, who I believe played with Crimson as well, and I think played with Roxy Music, if I'm not mistaken. Jimmy Hastings, Patrick Moraz, who would go on and do keyboards with Yes, and Barry Rose. Very, very, Pete Sinfield gets a credit on here, who worked with Emerson, Lake and Palmer. So it's proggy, very proggy. If you like prog, you're gonna like this. If you like bass players and bass solo albums, which I do, I have quite a few bass solo albums, and I like solo albums from bands that I like. You get deeper into kind of the workings of the band and what goes on, and see what, just like I mentioned with the Art Garfunkel being able to kind of break out, and do his own thing out from under the thumb of Paul Simon. So, you had Chris Squire was able to do stuff out from John Anderson and Steve Howe. And Bruford. This is my last album. It's a best of. It came out in 75, but it's very, very well mastered. And it has an excellent song selection on it. A lot of the songs from Pet Sounds are on here. It's on Reprise. It has Good Vibrations, of course, Heroes and Villains, Surf's Up, Wouldn't It Be Nice, God Only Knows, Sail On Sailor, Sloop John B., Do It Again, not the Steely Dan version. It's just really, really good. Good Vibrations. It's a best of, if you're looking for a best of, and there they are about, in the mid 70, 75, the Beach Boys on Reprise, as I mentioned, and there's the Reprise label. They did Surf's Up on. They got the Surf's Up Indian on the Horse there and Reprise. So that's it for the first. Ran way longer than I wanted to. I'm going to do a couple more 1975. So Dave signing out. Keep on rocking. Please like, subscribe, and comment if you feel so moved. And have a great night. Thank you for watching, and we'll have more vinyl coming to you. Thanks. Bye.